All right. I want to make sure everybody has a handout. There were handouts that were in the back, I believe. So if you don't have one, share, or you can get, there's plenty back there. And I might need someone up here to help me with a roaming mic at the very beginning and a couple times throughout. So if anyone can help me do that, that would be helpful. All right. We're going to get started, so welcome for those of you who are here in person and those of you who are joining online. My name is Bryan Cafferky, and I hail from Southern California. This is my wife, Jenny, and my two daughters, Phoenix and Penelope. This is probably a year and a half ago or so. So we love going up mountains and doing family hikes, as long as the hikes aren't too long, right? Long enough for us to have fun, but not too long for us to start crying. Those are the hikes that we like. So here's our first picture. Raise your hand. Tell me what you observe happening in this sweet, sweet situation. We have a roaming mic coming around so we can tap into the wisdom of the room. Raise your hand. Tell me what you notice. There's a hand over here. Sharing. Tell me about the sharing. Let's get the microphone over there. Get the roaming mic over there. It's okay. You're excited about what's on there. I get it. I know. It's a captivating image.
Yeah, sharing because the little brother or cousin, it's sharing with the other little kid. Doesn't care much about to feed himself, but to help the other baby.
And sharing is caring, right? And we want to teach people how to do this, right? We want kids to learn how to share, right? This is a good thing, caring for other people. We want to teach, we want to inspire this, not just young folk, but everybody else, right? If we were all sharing, the world would be a different place, right? Tell me what else you notice. Anyone else? Raise your hand. Oh, got a hand over here? Oh, go for it.
Okay. Well, what I'm seeing is that, first of all, he ate, as you see his mouth, had his fill, and then he went to feed his brother.
Okay.
So he ate first?
So maybe he ate first, or maybe he's eating in between, helping his brother?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay. What else? I think there was a hand over here.
First and then you.
The second child seems receptive, like he has his mouth
This
open.
one. This one. Mouth is open, ready.
So we can infer that he is helping in a situation that the person's willing to be helped.
Yes, and it's a beautiful symbiotic relationship. This one enjoys helping, they know their job, and this person likes being helped, right? Everybody's happy, right? Okay, so on the surface, that's what's going on. What else do you notice?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think that guy doesn't want to eat that food, so he's like, here you go,
This one?
man. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, he's tried it, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Right?
He's
But
like,
maybe-
I'm done. Here you go. You can
Yeah,
have it.
looks like it could be watermelon or dragon fruit. There's some food here, but there's not as, who made this? There's not a lot of food here. Most of the food is here. So this person, it looks like they're taking their food and helping their friend who has food. Do we see that? Person on the left is helping the person on the right. There's not a lot of food here because this person is sharing their food with this person who still has food to eat, okay? Yes, there's a hand up here. I want to make sure people online can also hear this wisdom.
That the other kid, when eating, being fed, possibly is unable to feed himself.
Good.
So the first one may be finished already, and then is willing to help the other one.
Thank you. So the person on the right might have specific support needs, right, that we're trying to attend to, right? Good. Anything else you notice? Okay. Another hand over here. Yes.
It seems like the kid eating has two utensils already.
Oh,
One
look.
is actually in his hand.
Oh, look, there's a utensil here and another one, right?
So he's got an abundance, and yet the other child is still
Oh, yeah. So they might have support needs. Hopefully the guardians or caregivers put food in front of them with these tools to help them eat, maybe to inspire this. But whatever's happening, this person on the left is doing a lot of the work. Is that right? You seeing this? And this can be good and beautiful, especially if there are specific support needs and we want them to learn how to share. But what happens if this sort of pattern continues for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? What's going to happen to this relationship? Because this might just be one example of this sort of thing happening. What's going to happen with these two kiddos if this pattern continues? Let's get a hand up if you want to share.
I think he's enabling him not to.
I'm sorry, can we get the blue microphone?
He's enabling him not to do it himself and learn how to be self-sufficient.
Okay. So what I hear you saying, even though this is nice, the sharing is caring, when this person is doing the work, they are in some ways robbing the person on the right of the opportunity to develop mastery with the fine motor skills themselves. And we know that those fine motor skills are super important for development. There's a hand here.
So I'm going to make up a different story in my mind.
Please do.
I think the little guy on the right already fed the guy on the left.
Oh, okay, so they're going back and forth.
And they're helping each other out. And if this continues for years, they're going to be great brothers and help each other grow.
Yeah, great brothers, always doing something for somebody else, but not doing something for yourself. Tying someone else's shoes, but not tying your own shoes. Always, I can't eat, my brother's not here, and I'm used to someone helping me. I can't do it unless I have help. I'm dependent on help to get me to do things. I love helping other people, but I can't do anything unless someone helps myself. And it's not going to be me because I'm used to my brother. Obviously, am I painting a picture? This is one snapshot in time. This is not representative of their whole relationship. My 7-year-old, we are transitioning from Velcro to tied shoes, to shoelaces. Some days we still do Velcro. Because tying shoes is it's a new skill. It takes a little bit of time to develop mastery over that. And if I am impatient as a parent, and if I don't leave on time, if I don't get out of the house, give us ample time to put on shoes, there's a chance that Bryan might say, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. She's crying, I'm just going to tie her shoes because I don't want to deal with it. So she's in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, junior high. She's a junior, she's a senior in high school, and she calls me, Dad, my shoes are untied. Just got done with gym class, so I have to leave work, drive 25 minutes to her high school, check in at the office, get a visitor's pass, find the gym, wait outside so she can come out with her untied shoelaces, and I will tie her shoelaces for her, and then I'll go back to work. Because I continued to want to be so supportive, I was robbing her of the opportunity to do some things that she might actually be able to do herself, right? So I think sharing is caring, and we should support other people, but there are times in our support we actually rob them of the opportunity to develop mastery over things that they are capable of doing. This is a little bit different when it comes to certain people with certain support needs, and I should be supporting her, my daughter, with more scaffolding approach where I'm supporting her. Okay, we're doing this together. What's the first thing tying shoes? We'll go through it slowly, but if I'm always doing it for her, for example, there are high school and university students and graduate students who are relying more and more on ChatGPT to help them write papers. And the more you rely on ChatGPT to help you, AI to help you write papers, the less you're going to develop your own mastery to think through things and develop different thoughts. You get the job done, right? You check the box, I ate, check the box, I tied shoes, but you're not actually developing mastery over that. In fact, in some ways, if this continues and the person on the right never learns how to feed themselves, the only thing they learn is the shape of the spoon in their mouth. They don't actually learn how to do that themselves. So today is going to be asking some questions about, man, we should be supportive, but are there some times where it might be better to allow them to develop some mastery over themselves? So we're talking about something called relational triangles and how relational triangles are the foundation of our relationships. And how we can navigate our relationships differently now that we understand this new paradigm of triangulation and what happens when we start to see the world through terms of triangles instead of just one-on-one. And today I'll be talking more as a certified family life educator, not as marriage and family therapist. So the concept I'll be presenting to you today, this will shift and change when there are issues of safety and well-being and suicidal ideation. It's a little bit different. So I'm not thinking about issues of safety. I'm thinking of issues of people who are upset or disgruntled or angry or really needing help, but issues of safety are not on the table. So there's this story in Genesis where Abraham sends his trusted servant to go and find the perfect wife for his son Isaac. So he sends his trusted servant up north to Paddan to find a wife for his son Isaac. And this trusted servant goes on this quest. And when he arrives, he sees this woman at the well who waters him and his donkeys. And there's this whole exchange. And he brings Rebekah and her nurse or maidservant back down to marry Isaac. But I want to zoom in on this story to observe some of the patterns in this family. And before we go further, I want to remind you of something we talked about last night, is that every behavior is a symptom of the system. And if we can observe these different symptoms and how they might be indicative of what the rules of the family are, by observing the behavior, we can see how every behavior is a symptom of the system. So at the beginning of our story, after the servant gets all the way up to Paddan and he prays for God to guide him to find this wife, when the camels had finished drinking after Rebekah had watered the camels, the man took a gold ring, so some good jewelry, weighing half a shekel, and 2 bracelets for her, that's Rebekah's wrists, weighing 10 shekels in gold. And Abraham's servant said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his kindness and his trustworthiness towards my master. As for me, the Lord has guided me in the way to the house of my master's brothers." Then the young woman, that's Rebekah, ran and told her mother's household about these things. Typically, in the Bible, in the Genesis narrative, we talk about the father's household. She's running to her mother's household. So I think this is tipping us off a little bit about what's going on in the family when it comes to power dynamics. Now, Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. Laban ran outside to meet the man of the string, and when he saw the ring, so the jewelry, and the bracelets, the gold on sister's wrists, and when he heard the words of his sister Rebekah saying, "This is what the man said to me," he went to the man, and behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. So Laban is coming. He sees the jewels. He goes out. He sees this man with the camels. So he sees this fleet of BMWs and goes, "Wow, look at this man. He is loaded. He is wealthy." And Laban said, "Come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside since I have prepared the house and a place for the camels, a place for you to park your cars?" Now, camels were more valuable than donkeys because they could travel for longer periods of time without water, right? So the fact that someone has camels, this is showing like some of their wealth. And so he has a place for you and a place to safely park your camels. So the man entered the house. Then Laban unloaded the camels and he gave straw and fed the camels. Laban is obsessed with these camels, right? He can't tear his eyes off of them. And water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who are with him. So he attends to the BMWs before he actually attends to the person. Then Laban and Bethuel, this is the father of Rebekah, and this is the only time that Bethuel speaks, and he speaks in conjunction with Laban. So Laban and Bethuel say, "The matter has come from the Lord, so we cannot speak to you good or bad. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord had spoken." And then the servant brought out more jewelry, which probably made Laban's eyes go big, articles of silver, articles of gold, and garments, and he gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and her mother. Then when he and the men with him ate and drank, spent the night, and they got up in the morning, he said, "Send me away to my master." But her brother and her mother, so now Bethuel, the father, is no longer speaking. He came in, he said one thing, and now he's kind of moved to the background. Instead, Laban and his mother do the rest of the speaking. Brother and mother said, "Let the young woman stay with us a few days, say 10. Afterwards she may go." However, the servant said to them, so that's the mother and the brother, "Do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master." There's a negotiation. I want to go. Stay a little longer. I want to go. Stay a little longer. Let Rebekah decide. So there's some negotiation happening. And they, the mother and the brother, said, "We will call the young woman and ask her. Let her decide." Then they called Rebekah and said to her, "Will you go with this man?" And she said, "I will go." So they, the mother and brother, sent away their sister Rebekah and her nurse with Abraham's servant and his men. So what's happening here? One, in this family, the father doesn't do as much speaking. He's more of like a figurehead. Or it seems like more of the conversation happens with the mother and the brother, right? Also, we know the brother is obsessed with these signs of wealth. He's really interested in that sort of thing. So this is part of the family system, and perhaps mother is used to making some really important decisions for the family, like when it's okay for her daughter to be married away. We're seeing some of this dynamic, I'm hoping. This is important to understand because what we learn in our family of origin, we often replicate in our family of choice or family of procreation. So what are these behaviors of the family? We talked about how the father only speaks once, and it's in conjunction with Laban. There's this negotiation that happens back and forth. Like, I would need to go home to my master. Let's wait a little bit longer. No, I need to go. Well, let's let her speak. The mother and Laban do most of the talking. Mother Laban's wishes supersedes the father's decision because the father said, yeah, you can take her. But then the mother and brother, they're kind of going around, maybe slightly different what the father has said. And ultimately, Rebekah chooses her own future. And Laban ends up playing both sides. Yes, you can go. Oh, no, you can't go. So we already see Laban as someone who tries to play both sides of the table. And he's intensely interested in this wealth. So let's kind of showcase this, what's happening here. Genesis 25:28, later on, where Rebekah partners with Isaac. If you remember, Rebekah has a favorite son, Jacob, and Isaac has a favorite son, Esau, right? So there's tension between the brothers, even from birth. Jacob comes out grasping his brother's heel. And then Jacob took advantage of his brother when he was hungry, sold him a bowl of soup and some garlic bread for his birthright. He ends up tricking his father to get the blessing from his father under the table of Esau, so Esau's really upset. So we know there's tension between them. Esau prefers Isaac, and Rebekah prefers Jacob. So we know there's some alliance in this family. And then there's this famous story where Jacob deceives his father. He tricks his father. So it starts out with, now it came about when Isaac was old and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called his older brother Esau, said to him, my son. He said, here I am. Then Isaac said, behold, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Please go and hunt and bring back some food, prepare it the way that I like it so I can bless you. But Rebekah, the mother, is hearing this, and she has her own plan. Jacob, my favorite son, I have our own plan. Here we go. You're going to dress up like your brother, etc., etc. And on the surface, it looks like Rebekah is pulling the strings, right? Even though this is labeled Jacob's deception, we really know it's Rebekah's deception by proxy through Jacob. She's trying to deceive her legally blind husband out of the blessing. So she's trying to take advantage of the situation. But why is she doing this? So the mother is pulling the strings. But why is mom doing this? Any idea? Because the dad isn't doing it, and mom is taking matters into her own hands. In fact, she wants to make sure her preferred son gets the blessing, not Esau, because Esau is not her preferred son. And if her preferred son, Jacob, can get the blessing from the father, then for all intents and purposes, Jacob will already have the birthright and the blessing, and Jacob has been around the tents with mom while Esau's been out hunting, so she can live the rest of her lives with her preferred son, Jacob. But there's actually another reason that is leading Rebekah to do this. Oh, yes, there's a hand here. Okay, good. Yeah, yep.
So Rebekah heard the prophecy that the older would serve the younger.
Yes.
She's stepping in to help God do this.
What a helper, right? God's help those who help themselves. She's heard God prophesy this, and I am the conduit. I'm put on the earth for such a time as this, to do this, to make sure this plays out, right? There's actually something else at play here. And part of it is the way that our English Bible is separated in chapters and verses. Because the original Hebrew Bible did not have these numbers. Chapter 27, verse 2, 3, those weren't there. These numbers were added later artificially to kind of break up the story. And how you start the story sets the foundation for the rest of the story. And I think this story actually begins 2 or 3 verses earlier. Let's look at this. When Esau, the non-preferred brother of Rebekah, was 40 years old, he married 2 people, Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, which is a sweet name if you're considering baby names, Basemath, the daughter of Elon, not Musk, Elon the Hittite, and they, the daughters-in-law, brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. This is the beginning of the story. Rebekah and Isaac are not getting along with their in-laws. In some families, in-laws are part of the family. Other families, in-laws are the enemy. We do not get along with them. And there's tension here between these new daughters-in-law. In fact, you read the rest of the story, it becomes I'll get some goosebumps, very, very clear that Rebekah is trying to solve the problem of in-laws. Let's keep reading the story. So we see Rebekah and Jacob and Esau, and we know that there's tension between Rebekah and Judith and Bathmas, and also tension between Rebekah and Esau. She doesn't like Esau. And we know there's tension between Isaac and Judith and Bathmas. So there's a lot of tension here because these daughters-in-law are now part of the family system. And we know there's some tension between Rebekah and Isaac because Rebekah wants one thing, Isaac wants the other, and they're not working together as a team, right? But this kind of makes sense because in her family of origin, sometimes mom would call the shots when it came to important decisions. So she's taking this upon herself to help the important decisions move along in the way that they should go. So this is after the deception, Esau finds out about it, and Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing of which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, notice one sentence Esau says, and then see how Rebekah amplifies it. Esau said, "The days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." Short, succinct, I'm mad, I will kill. Just like a hunter, right? Look how Rebekah massages this and amplifies it, make a big deal about it so that her preferred son Jacob can get the message that she wants him to get. Now, when the words of her elder son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she sent word and called her younger brother Jacob and said to him, "Behold, listen to me. Your brother Esau is consoling himself concerning you by planning to kill you." She could have stopped there, but she kept going. "Now then, my son, obey my voice. Flee, run to Paddan-aram, to my brother Laban. Stay with him a few days until your brother's fury subsides. Again, until your brother's anger against you subsides and he forgets what you did to him." Will he forget what you did to him? Probably not. "Then I will send word and get you from there. Why should I lose you both in one day?" And the next breath, Rebekah turns to her husband Isaac and says, "I am tired of living because of the daughters of Heth," daughters-in-law. "If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these, the daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me?" All right, she's complaining about these in-laws again. And then Isaac catches that from Rebekah, turns, and he says to Jacob, oh, it stopped all of a sudden. Here we go. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and commanded him, saying to him, "You shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan, like Esau did. Arise, go to Paddan-aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and from there to take for yourself a wife from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother." So all of this is because Rebekah is trying to get her son to go and find preferred daughters-in-law that came from her family so we can all agree about how to make the lentil soup, right? So all of this, a lot of work to get some daughters-in-law that she thinks will be a better fit for her so she can get along with them. So what's the idea is, if I can get new daughters-in-law, I can work with them and I will not have to worry as much about these others' daughters-in-law, because by that point in time, my son Jacob already has the birthright and the blessing. Then he has daughters-in-law from my family, and we will all get along. Later on, Esau marries another one, Mahalath, from his extended family, because he's doing this to try and please his father, so he's not marrying from the daughters of the land. So Rebekah could have prayed about it. She could have applied the Matthew 18 principle with the daughters-in-law. She could have agreed to disagree. Instead, she convinced her favorite son to dress up in goatskin to swindle the blessing from her legally blind husband, and then scare Jacob out of town to obtain an approved wife from her family back in Paddan-aram. And because of all this scheming, she never got to see Jacob ever again. This is triangulation. We have anxiety that someone catches and amplifies, spreads onto somebody else. We're not dealing with this directly. We're going a roundabout way. I don't want to deal with this problem. I'm going to solve this problem over here instead. A lot of work and mental energy is spent in this family trying to navigate conflict. this might be familiar to some of us when it comes to our own challenges in our own family, how we deal with tension, how we don't want to deal with tension, how we walk on eggshells, how people make secret decisions on the side. Navigating relationships is really, really difficult because relationships are not about two people. In fact, Bryan does not believe there is such a thing as a two-person relationship. I do not think a two-person relationship exists in all of the earth. And if you don't agree with me, I have like 45 minutes to convince you. So here we go. Bridges. So if you're an engineer or construction worker or do landscaping, you will know that triangles are important, right? They provide a lot of stability, right? It's a strong shape. You're able to disperse some of the load, right? When it's a load-bearing triangle, you're able to disperse load onto other parts. So in some ways, triangles are really, really helpful for sturdiness, rigidity, strength. So I actually think triangles are helpful in families. But there's the flip side of the coin when people are abusing relational triangles, that it's not so good. There are times in relationships where in our families and relationships where triangles are helpful. There are times when it's not so helpful. So here are 4 examples of how triangulation might show up in a family. Here we go, 4 quick scenarios. On the left-hand side, we have 2 people who are not getting along. They're not getting along. There's tension in this dyad, but all of a sudden the addition of another person might change the way that they interact. Let's say 2 people are fighting. They're at a coffee shop. They're fighting. But Pastor Adriano walks in, and all of a sudden, because Pastor Adriano walks in, sits down at the table next to them, all of a sudden they're on their best behavior. And now they're getting along because this third person came into the story. Likewise, on the left-hand side, let's say there's 2 people who are in a romantic relationship, and they get along, and all of a sudden the addition of a baby changes their interact, because now they have a child they're supposed to attend to that's dependent on them, which means they don't have as much time to attend to each other. So in these 2 scenarios, the addition of a third person, the addition of a third party, actually changes what happens between those 2 people. In a similar manner, let's say there are 2 people, this is the first weekend for NFL football. People are gearing up, they're super excited. So we have neighbors in our neighborhood that might have like a flag for one team versus a flag for another team. And these 2 neighbors, while they're watching the game together in their garage, they're chirping back and forth. They're enemies, right? Because their teams are playing each other. But as soon as that game goes away, these 2 people can go back to being good neighbors. But while the game was on, they were enemies. Similarly, these 2 people, let's say these are 2 people with some pretty powerful personalities, and they have a boss at work, a supervisor, who's very skilled at managing people. And unfortunately, this boss has to take a job in Florida. And when they move away, all of a sudden these powerful personalities over here start to have some tension between them. So the removal of a third party, whether a supervisor or a TV, that can also change the way that 2 people interact. So what does this mean? It means regardless of whether there's tension between people, like there's conflict, or no tension, the addition or removal of a third party can change what happens between those 2 people. Which means if you only think relationships are about 2 people, me and you, that's it, you're missing the influence of all of these other people and parties that are orbiting you, whether it's a family member, a sibling, a friend, a colleague, a neighbor, an addiction, a career, a chronic illness. All these things influence how 2 people interact. So for me, I want you to entertain this paradigm shift. And if it doesn't feel good right now, I want you to at least temporarily try and put it on to see how it fits. Relationships are not about 2s, relationships are about 3s. And as soon as we can start to see how relationships are about 3s, not 2s, we unlock a new understanding as to why some of our relationships are so challenging. Because sometimes it's the influence of that third party. But if we just think of one-on-one, that's it, we have blinders on and we're missing the influence of outside parties, outside people. Because triangles are the basic building blocks of our emotional systems. We rely on triangulation to provide some stability, which is good in families. We want the support of other people, right? We want that. So it's good to understand that triangles can be really healthy in many situations. A relational triangle is a 3-person emotional configuration where one relationship gets intertwined with the addition of a third person or party or career or addiction. So there's an influence from this other party. And sometimes there are some interlocking triangles. There's one triangle over here, and one person is shared between these two triangles. So all of a sudden, I might experience distress from work, and then I pour that on to my relationship with my partner or my neighbors, and all of a sudden we can pass anxiety down the line. Because anxiety has staying power. It's like a hot potato. It's passed from person to person to person. So what happens is there's distress between two people. They pass on that anxiety down to a third party. Either they're blaming them for what's happening between us, or I'm using you as a scapegoat to take my tension out on you. And what happens is this is really just a multi-level modeling scheme where we are trying to pass on anxiety from person to person, stuff that I don't want to deal with. I want to pass it on down the line. I'd rather not deal with it myself. So we can continue to behave in this manner. We can be abusing the triangles to just get rid of this excess anxiety. And if you've ever done me wrong, just know that I've talked to my cousin, and my cousin does not like you. You don't even know that I'm talking to my cousin, but because of the distress I had with you, I had to seek some support. I called my cousin. She talked with me. Now she's on my side. They did what to you, Bryan? Shame on them. Yeah, shame on them. Yeah. So all of a sudden, my cousin and I are in a triangle with you, and you don't even know it. But we're talking about you. We're talking about our anxiety. I need some support, and all of a sudden, both of us agree that you're the bad person. This is what happens with triangulation. Triangulation is actually an anxiety management strategy. Why management strategy? Because we're hoping that if we can just pass on some of our tension, distress onto other people, then I can pass on this unresolved distress, and after I pass this on, then I will feel calmer. That's why people do this. We pass on anxiety, get rid of the hot potatoes off our lap so that I will feel calmer, because ultimately that's what most people want. They want to feel calmer. It's not as much fun when you're tense or you're anxious. And these hot potatoes are hot to touch. We don't want to touch them for too long. My daughters right now are doing summer, well, not right now, but during the summer they were taking swim lessons. And when we would get out of the pool, if we did not splash water on the hot concrete, the girls would start to be dancing like this. Why? Concrete's hot. I don't want my soft little 4-year-old feet to be on that hot concrete, so I'm dancing back and forth, hoping someone's going to help me. In a similar manner, we have hot potatoes. There's stuff we don't want to deal with. We don't want to touch it very long. We'd rather offload it onto somebody else because it's hard to touch the stuff that is uncomfortable to touch. So in this situation, there's a chance some triangulation is happening with the parents or the third party that are not in this picture that are influencing this sort of thing. Maybe there's special support needs, or maybe they're trying to perform for the grandparents, or maybe there's a reward for helping your brother. There's often third-party individuals surrounding what's happening between these two people, which means if we're passing hot potatoes from person to person, a lot of the stress we deal with may not have our name on it. It may not be ours. It might be other people's hot potatoes that they're pouring onto our lap because we are a supportive friend or family member, and we are receiving those hot potatoes that are not ours, and all of a sudden, we're using more of our own emotional capacity to deal with other people's stuff instead of dealing with our own stuff. And here's the thing. When there's tension between two people, the more I get involved to try and repair or resolve or become responsible for trying to fix how these two people are getting along, the more I will start to experience the distress of that relationship. When I jump in to try and get my hands into the mix, the more likely I'm going to get wet, right? Because you're trying to help, but the more likely you're going to get splashed upon. In fact, King Solomon talked about this. Proverbs 26, verse 17, he said, "Like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears is someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own," right? Stray dog going by, I don't know much about it, I see it, I'm going to grab this dog by the ears, there's a chance you might get bit. So the more we jump in and feel responsible for trying to repair the relationship between two people, the more likely we will experience that distress of that relationship. Triangulation is an emotional process and an anxiety binding process that binds anxiety to the family system because instead of dealing with the hot potatoes, we're just passing the hot potatoes. The hot potatoes don't leave, they're just passed around. So all of a sudden, we're just all passing hot potatoes around, and nobody's actually dealing with those hot potatoes. Snow. We have snow here, right? A little bit hard to see, but from what you can see, does this look like hard snow or soft snow? Oh, how would you know it's hard? Say it again? Because I've shoveled it. Okay. Personal experience, right. I'm my own source of authority. Okay. So is this heavy or light? Heavy, yeah. Okay. So in this situation, for those of you who don't know, there is probably a snow plow, probably a pickup truck that had a plow on the front that pushed the snow here, compacted it, and just left it here. Because they moved the snow, have they gotten rid of the snow? No, they've just moved it around. Here's another picture. Here's the situation. This person cleared out their driveway, but when they were inside the house, snowplow came, moved this big boulder of ice. How is this person going to get their vehicle out of the driveway? Any ideas? What do you say? Break down the boulder? Yeah, break it down. So get a pickaxe, right? Because a little flimsy aluminum thin shovel isn't going to do anything, right? Or you put the car into reverse and you just go. Whatever the way, it's going to take some work to move this. Here's another picture. In this scenario, the snowplow pushed all of the snow up to the garage door, so the person who lives there can't even get inside. This is like one of those doors that lifts up instead of rolls up. So how are you going to get your shovel and pickaxe to move this? This person's in a tough spot. When I was in Michigan going to seminary, there was a news article where a man went into this auto parts store, and he did not like how he was treated by the people who were helping him or the manager, so he left upset. A few months later, at like 2:30 in the morning, as part of his part-time work, he got a call saying, hey, can you please put the plow on your pickup truck? We have a parking lot for you to go and to move snow. Great. He shows up. He realizes this is the address where he did not like his experience in this auto parts store, so he intentionally pushed this snow up to the front door so people would have to step over these little mountains of snow. They have to hike over it in order to get into the store as a petty form of punishment. Is he getting rid of the snow? No. In fact, he's intentionally pushing the snow in a certain area to get back at somebody, right? And triangles are forever and can outlive the people in them, meaning, and so someone in our family passes away. Sometimes we think, or they even move away to the other side of the country. We sometimes think, they moved out of our life will be easier. They passed away, I don't have to deal with them anymore. But here's the thing. All that unresolved tension does not evaporate. It just gets redistributed amongst the rest of the remaining family members, which is why sometimes you'll see family personalities or roles shift when someone has passed away, because now there's this excess anxiety that used to be shared with this one person. Now this person has gone. Now this anxiety is redistributed amongst the rest of the remaining family members. Snow is pushed back into new places. So even though someone passes away, the anxiety does not. Narratives we tell ourselves about why we need to be supportive for other people. We, as people who identify as Christians or people who want to be good people, we often have learned that it's good to be helpful, good to be caring. And so we start to tell ourselves things like, you know what, this person really needs me. They're having a difficult time. They need me. Or they say, they need my help, specifically me, Bryan. They've come to me for support, so I need to help them. I'm their pastor, I'm their supporter, I'm their friend, I'm their neighbor, I'm their cousin, I'm their family member, I'm their friend. I'm not going to abandon my family, I'm not going to abandon my friend. In fact, it's my job and role and responsibility. I'm paid to do this. I'm supposed to do this. I know what to do. I've been down this road 1,000 times. I know exactly what they need to do. I have special knowledge, and I can impart this to them. In fact, I see myself as a rescuer or a helper. And I know how to fix this, or I don't know how to fix this, but I'll take one for the team. All of these are narratives and justifications why we tell ourselves we need to jump in and help other people. I'm not saying don't help other people. What I am saying is let's just notice the patterns and the stories we tell ourselves about why we are supposed to always help other people. In fact, if it's not us telling ourselves stories, other people are trying to pitch this to us, saying, you're such a good listener. I can call you anytime you need, and I know you will always pick up the phone for me, right? I can always trust you. You always have my back. You always have a lending ear. I can count on you. You're a mediator. Or even just, can I tell you about so-and-so? I'm worried about them. All of these are stories that are pitched to us about why we are supposed to help somebody. When my daughters are learning new things like tying their shoes, there are times that I should be supportive, right? There are also times where it's appropriate for me to let her struggle a little bit. Without struggle, without mistakes, there's usually not as much learning, right? Mistakes are the building blocks of success. You have to make some mistakes. You have to learn. You have to be disappointed and frustrated to learn certain things. So I'm not saying you abandon help. What I am saying, let's just notice the dominant narratives about why we feel like we are supposed to help other people. In some ways, this means, oh, I'm supposed to take your hot potato from you, relieve you of that hot potato because you don't want it, and I've been socially trained. This is what's expected in our family, in our friend system. But here's the thing. I don't think you have to automatically always participate in taking someone else's hot potatoes. In fact, in some ways, if we're always taking their hot potatoes, we are robbing them of the opportunity to develop mastery over something that they might have to learn how to do themselves. And when we allow ourselves to be triangulated into other people's relationship, we rarely remove anxiety. We're just pushing anxiety around the circle. So imagine I live on a cul-de-sac, and it snows 2 inches at night. So I come over here, and I see there's 2 inches of snow on my driveway. I get up early, stretch out a little bit, and I shovel all of the snow on my driveway over to my neighbor's driveway. 30 minutes later, my neighbor comes out. Oh, it only snowed 2 inches, but it looks like there's 4 inches on my driveway. Better get rid of it. So I'm shoveling these 4 inches over to the next person's driveway. So I go to the next house. Third neighbor comes out, wow, there's a lot of snow on my driveway. And they shovel all this 6 inches over my neighbor's driveway and all the way around the cul-de-sac. And if the person across from me is very industrious, they could take those 12 inches of snow and carry it all the way across the street and dump it back onto my driveway. Sometimes this happens in families. We just take turns holding the hot potatoes. We're not actually dealing with hot potatoes. We become brokers of the hot potatoes instead of actually dealing with them. The result is we perpetuate this transaction of anxiety, passing anxiety around instead of actually dealing with the anxiety. And the more anxiety that ends up getting stuck in the family system, the more we are walking on eggshells, the more we are having to avoid certain topics of conversation, avoiding certain people, not bringing this up or that up, because if we did that, we'd be touching a hot potato, and we're not supposed to poke those hot potatoes. A little support here. Be on the computer if you could support me. I'm trying to click forward on this. There we go. Again, like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears and someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. So please don't automatically rush in to help someone unless it's issues of safety. It's a little bit different. But think about, okay, what's happening here? Is this a pattern? Can they do this themselves? They just don't want to? What kind of abilities do they have over this? Do they need me to jump in and rescue them? Or are there other ways that I can support them? So what happened to Rebecca and her dream family? She never saw Jacob ever again. And when it comes to triangles, there are certain roles that we play in these triangles. We can be the anxiety generator, meaning we're bringing anxiety to the table. Hey, we got to pay attention to this. You can be the anxiety amplifier, someone who amplifies the anxiety, or you can be the anxiety dampener, someone who dampens the anxiety. So these are 3 different roles we can play. Not every triangle always has a dampener, a generator, or the amplifier, but these are different roles we can play. So let's talk more about what these roles are. So the anxiety generator, I'm bringing this anxiety to the party. Hey, this is an issue we need to deal with. Hey, Bryan, the garage is messy. Can you please attend to it? Can you please clean the garage? My wife is anxious about the garage. She's bringing that to my attention. She's generating the anxiety. If I ignore her, she might amplify the anxiety. Let's reverse. I don't want to make my wife the bad person. It's me. Okay. Hey, wife, Jenny, the garage is a mess. We need to clean it up. Okay, if she's not listening, I'll say, hey, it's really, really messy. I'm going to amplify it now. Every day when I get out of the car and walk through the garage, I'm tripping on bikes and broomsticks and boxes. There's canned food around. And in fact, we can't even park our car in there safely anymore. In fact, I haven't parked my car in the last week because of all the stuff in the garage. I do not want to live like this. Notice how I'm amplifying the situation. I'm making a bigger deal out of it. Because instead of generating the anxiety, now I'm amplifying. Because I want people to hear me. I want something to be done. Another scenario, let's say there's a 10-year-old male who's coming home after school. Let's say he's in, 3rd grade. And he comes home, and he comes to mom, and he says, Mom, I'm getting bullied at school. They don't like the food that I have. They say it smells funny. They don't like my shoes or my hair. And mom, attempting to be supportive, says, honey, it's not that big of a deal. Right? You're only in 3rd grade or 4th grade, whatever grade you're in. You're only in that grade. And you're only going to be in school for another 2 months. Just deal with it. Kids are mean. Suck it up. You got to learn now. Life is hard. And in dismissing her son's concern, she's actually amplifying it, right? She's trying to say it's not that big of a deal, but now the son who had the courage to bring it up to his caregiver to get some help, he's now been told the thing you're worried about, just don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. So now he's in a worse spot, right? What do I do? Let's say he goes to his father. He goes, Dad, somebody's bullying me. And Dad looks up from his newspaper and he says, what? Who is bullying? What is their name? Who are their names? I'm going to show up to school tomorrow morning with you. You point out who the parents are. I'm going to take a picture of their vehicles so I have them on record. I'm going to call the principal. We're going to have a meeting with the teacher. We're going to have a big old house to make sure you never get bullied again. In fact, we're going to get you a dog that goes to school with you. And it's going to seem like an emotional support dog, but this dog is actually be a protective dog. It's going to be a bulldog. So okay, this father is amplifying this anxiety, right? And in doing so, is this really what the son wants? Does the son want his father to come and embarrass him further by taking pictures, yelling and screaming at the other parents, giving him a dog? Does the son really want that? Not necessarily. So the third option is to be anxiety dampener. Luckily, Grandma, Nana, lives at home with them. So the son goes to Nana and says, hey, I'm getting bullied at school. And instead of amplifying, making a big deal out of it, or dismissing it, Nana says, oh no, I'm so sorry. Come here, what's happening? Well, making fun of the way my food smells or my hair or my clothes. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Oh, Elijah, I'm so sorry. Come here, come sit on Nana's nap. How long has this been going on? All of a sudden, Grandma has created a safe space for the son to come into. The son starts to tear up a little bit. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I love you so. I'm so sorry this is happening. We're going to do something about this. I'm so sorry. So all of a sudden, this grandmother is actually dampening the anxiety. The grandmother is not catching the anxiety, is not amplifying it, but instead is providing a safe space. Now, in different families, in different cultures, how amplification or dampening looks will change from culture to culture, person to person. Some families, maybe the person who's dampening is actually saying, wow, we got to deal with this right now. We're going to do this. I'm with you. In other cultures, or other families, maybe okay, I hear you. I'm sorry you have big feelings. Maybe that's actually amplifying it, right? So depending on your own family, you should have a better idea of what amplification or dampening looks like. And most of us are really good at generating anxiety or amplifying anxiety, but it usually takes some intentional work to be a dampener. And when you're a dampener, you get to lower the amount of anxiety in the room because you're not catching it and then reacting to it. Instead, you're meeting it with calmness. There we go. When a stressful moment is stressed with more stress to capture it and catch it and amplify it, sometimes that distress gets bigger. But when it's met with calmness, sometimes that anxiety can dissipate and get dampened a little bit. We'll talk about, finally, our position in the triangle. So we talked about relational triangles, what they are. We talked about roles in the triangle. Now we're going to talk about our position in the triangle. And we are either an outsider or we are an insider. The insider is the person that actually holds the tension with the other party. You and me are having a beef. We're fighting. We're arguing. There's tension between us. We are insiders. The third person, the third party, is the outsider. But sometimes we try and pull that outsider into our mess so we can get some support. But the challenge is the more you get involved in other people's distress, the more likely you are to experience the distress of that relationship. Most springs, I go to a nursery to get basil and tomato and some cucumbers to plant those in pots so my girls can have a full sensory experience outside learning about growing food. And this last time when we bought the little tiny plants, we bought the potting mix, we already have the pots at home, we put on gloves, we had the hose involved, so we all got a little bit wet. And when we were all done with the process of planting these different plants, our gloves were muddy. And this is usually what happens. We usually get muddy gloves. Rarely does the mud get glovey. What am I saying? The more I reach in to support other people, I'm usually more likely to get dirty. Rarely does my glove stick and actually stick in the mud. Usually I become the stick in the mud. And in fact, sometimes if I get involved to try and help them, I sometimes make things worse. Not because I'm intending to, that's not my intent, but that's the impact. I'm trying to help, but there's a chance that my intent and impact are not on the same page. They are not necessarily aligned. So it's good to be on the outside. When you're on the outside, you want to be on the outside. In fact, the outside is the preferable position because you're not getting roped into their distress. So here's the outsider up here. Here are the insiders down here. Q and P really want M to come and help them. Please help us, please help us. But the more M gets involved to try and resolve the conflict between two people, the more they experience the distress of that relationship. And we have a hand over here, and we are almost ready for, we'll get to, there's a hand over here.
M is here.
Thank you. So I'm thinking in my life, as this is applicable to sibling relationships and then being the parent. Are you going to talk about that?
Are you going to solve my problem, Brian? So I'm also a parent.
Insight. I'm just looking for insight.
Yeah. So we need to think about developmentally, what are they capable of, right? So for a 7-year-old, there are times when Brian comes in with a red face, steam coming out of you. What is going on? Why are we fighting? Stop that, right? Because I'm actually catching their anxiety. In fact, they're fighting. I'm hearing it. I'm making it a big deal like it's the end of the world, so I'm actually catching it and amplifying it. We need to shut this down now, right? That's one approach. Another approach is coming, whoa, we're fighting. What's happening here? And let them talk. Well, she took my crayon. They didn't like my princess. Like, okay, wow, sounds like we're pretty upset. Yeah, we're upset. Okay, man, what are we going to do? What do you think should happen? Well, she took it, then they have these solutions, but I'm helping them through the process, so I might need to be there to provide some scaffolding to help them resolve the situation. But if every single time they fight, Daddy comes in, Daddy's here to the rescue, I know what to do, you do this, all done. They're never going to learn a thing about conflict resolution, right? In a similar manner, if I'm like, they're going to learn, I'm not listening, then I'm not providing any support whatsoever, right? And they will learn, maybe not the way that I want, or I prefer them to learn, how to resolve that conflict in their own way. So there's a balance of allowing them to struggle with it themselves and also providing some support that is appropriate developmentally. Does that help a little bit? You get pulled in. One always comes and pulls you in. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I always get pulled in when I don't necessarily want to be, but I'm also, it's hard.
How old are they?
Now people are going to know who I'm talking about.
How old are the kids?
They're 12 and 11.
Okay.
Boys.
So I'm going to hold us in suspense, because I promise at the end I'm going to provide some practical things that we can do.
Okay.
So if I don't speak to it, you say, Bryan, you promise you're going to speak to this. Okay, great. So I promise we'll get to this later on. Moving. There was a time in my life I moved 6 times in 5 years. I just kept the boxes underneath my bed because I knew I'd be moving again, just because of life circumstances. I do not like moving. There are 1,000 decisions to be made. Am I ever going to wear this shirt again? Will I read this book? Do I like this mug? Oh, I forgot about this shirt when I was 10 years old. What about this picture? Do I need my baseball cards? Will I play this game again? Where's the other sock? 1,000 decisions I have to make when I'm packing my own boxes. The stress of moving, trying to find a new place, trying to find a truck, logistically, it's one of my least favorite things. One of my favorite things is to help other people move. You show up, you get root beer, you get pizza, they say thank you, they put you into the closet, you grab all the clothes without looking at them, you shove it into a box, you close the box, use the tape, you take the box out to the garage. Where do you want me to go next? Great, into the kitchen. Love it. Here's a plate. Here's a paper towel. Here's a plate, paper towel, stack it up. Put these cups in. I would never use this, but it's their stuff. Close it up. Bring it up to the garage. I love it because it's not my stuff. I have one decision to make. How much can I fit into the box? That's it. I don't have to use no brain power at all. Nothing. It's not my stuff. I don't care. Sometimes we like dealing with other people's drama more than ourselves because it's at arm's length. We can mess with it, manipulate it. We don't have to take it home with us. So sometimes people spend more of their emotional capacity trying to deal with other people's stuff than dealing with their own business that they probably should actually be spending more time attending to. In fact, sometimes people are looking for other people's drama so they can be a broker in that drama and share that drama with other people. And all of a sudden, still dealing with my own stuff, I'm distracting myself and other people away from other things that might actually need attending to. It's actually better to be this odd person out, to not be pulled into the drama. So I'd recommend, if it's not your business, man, stay on the outside of their business. Okay, let's get into small groups of like 3 to 4 to 6 to 7 people maximum, and try and answer these questions. What is the difference between the generator, amplifier, and dampener roles? Does a triangle always have all 3 roles represented? And what is the difference between an insider or an outsider? Try and answer these questions. All right. Who wants another minute? Who needs another minute? Okay, you got another minute? I'm feeling generous. Get another minute. All right. Let's get that roaming mic over here again. We're going to tap into the wisdom of the room. I'm interested in an answer you heard about these questions. Either the answer came from your own mouth or someone nearby. Someone help me out. What is the difference between generator, amplifier, or dampener roles? Raise your hand so we can hear how you're understanding this.
Raise your hand.
Oh, nobody wants to answer. So this is either you're nervous or Bryan did not explain it well enough. It could be either or both of those. Sure.
Hey, the amplifier is the person. The amplifier is the person that, the generator is the one that brings the anxiety.
Good. Generator brings the anxiety. Good. We need to pay attention to this. Good.
The amplifier does, they take it over the top.
Yeah, they catch it and they amplify. They take it over the top. That's a good way to put it. Good.
And the dampener is one that just stays neutral and calms everything back down.
Yeah, and the dampener stays neutral. They do not catch the anxiety that's been put on the table. Instead, they're remaining cool, calm, collected. Excellent. Okay. Does a triangle always have these three roles represented? No, they do not. Good. And what's the difference between the insider versus the outsider? And what does Bryan say is the preferable position, whether or not you agree with me? Difference between insider and outsider. Over here. Oh, let's get this. There we go.
Oh, sorry. So the insider is someone who is part of the conflict.
Yes, they're part of the conflict.
So and then the outsider is somebody who's outside of it, and they either voluntarily come in.
Yes, voluntarily.
Or they get pulled in. Yes. Good. Love it. Excellent. Okay. Let's talk in our small groups one more time, because I want to see if we are actually understanding this. What is a relational triangle? How do they work? And explain this idea of hot potatoes and anxiety. So again, in your groups, try and answer these questions and come up with an example of this last statement. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Let's go back to our conversations. All right, raise your hand if you want another minute. If you want another minute, raise your hand. Okay, feeling good. You get another minute. All right. Let's wrap it up so we can tap into the wisdom of the room. There's more learning to happen as we're trying to answer these questions collectively. So first, with a microphone, raise your hand. Does someone have a way to explain what a relational triangle is? What's a relational triangle?
A relational triangle is a 3-person emotional configuration.
Yes, good. It's 3 people or 3 parties, right? That third party isn't always a person. Sometimes it's a career or an addiction, right? Or a dream or a chronic illness or your favorite TV show or your sports team or a hobby, whatever it is. Sometimes it's a person, oftentimes it's a person, but it's a third party that's part of this emotional configuration. Excellent, thank you. Okay, how do they work? How do they operate? How do they function? Okay, I'm going to take the silence as a secret sign between you and me that I did not explain this well enough. Oh, let's see.
So a relational triangle works in stabilizing anxiety.
Good.
By sharing the anxiety amongst 3 more solid pieces rather than just 2.
Good. You should be up here explaining this. That's exactly what it is, right? It provides stability, but in doing so, we're spreading anxiety instead of actually dealing with it, right? We become brokers of anxiety, passing anxiety around the family system instead of actually attending to this anxiety. So all of a sudden, we got many hands. Many hands make light work, but too many cooks spoil the broth, right? And all of a sudden, like, everyone's spraying hot potatoes around instead of actually dealing with it. And more of our emotional capacity is shoveling hot potatoes around instead of actually dealing with the hot potatoes that are ours. Good. Thank you. Good. Someone explain the idea of, I just kind of did it, didn't I? Can someone explain the idea of hot potatoes when it comes to anxiety? Hot potatoes have staying power. We pass them around. I should have looked at that before launching into what I just shared. Okay, great. Part 2. We are going to take a little break because you need a break. Walk around, take a bio break. Come back in like 10 minutes. Does that sound okay? And we're going to do part 2. Come back in 10 minutes. And I'll be up here for questions if people want to bounce questions off me. What is your name? Sarah. Bryan, nice to meet you, Sarah. Okay.
My husband, Joseph.
Sarah and Joseph. Great. It happens. I play different roles.
So they want to play together.
Huh?
choice
Yep.
from the oldest, mostly the oldest. But the younger one, so the 11-year-old, always comes to me. Does he come to you? Oh, yeah. Yeah. To try to I don't want to get involved.
Okay.
Because now he's like the middle child, and I don't want him to get neglected. You know what I mean? So I want to be there for him and support him emotionally, so that he knows that I'm there for him. So trying to balance that and not getting involved with whatever's going on.
Aggression.
From his older brother.
Okay.
Right.
For those watching at home, we took a little bit of a break. We're going to end this session for part 1, and we'll restart for part 2. So look for your live streaming. Look for either Facebook or YouTube for the next notification for part 2. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.
I don't know how to navigate that with still giving the middle child as
Right. Okay. Tricky.
Yeah.
Tricky. Good, but I'm glad you're trying to be good parents, like attend to this, right?